Okay, today what I want to do is go over with you guys the math study guide for your decimal test. So what you can do is you can be watching this video and following along. I might not be able to do every problem because it makes the video really, really long. And it's just hard to sit through a video that long, but I'm going to do my best at going over everything that's on your math test with doing the math study guide with all of you guys, okay? All right, so let's start with number one. Go ahead and get out your math study guide. You guys can pause this video at any time. It looks like this, math study guide for decimals. All right, let's do number one together. It says, it's already a hard one. It says, number one, what is 3/5 written as a decimal? Okay, so I've got my little dry erase board here. I think it's a good idea. Again, you can work it out on the study guide or you can just get a piece of scratch paper. But if I was gonna write 3/5 as a decimal, first of all, that's a weird 5. I have to make it into tenths, hundreds, or thousands. This is not into tenths, hundreds, or thousands. So I'm gonna change it to tenths. So I'm gonna start with the bottom and change it to tenths. What times 5 equals 10? You're correct, 2. So whatever you multiply by on the bottom, you also have to multiply by on the top. 3 times 2 equals 6. So this is 6/10 basically. What does that look like as a decimal? You guys already know, 0.6. So that is your answer, and that answer is C. So everybody on your study guide, the answer is C for number one on your math study guide about decimals. Okay, number two, it says, which of the following is not a way to write 9.17? Well, we know 9.17 stands for the same thing as 9 and 17 hundredths. It's hundredths. If I was to expand that, it would be 9 plus 0.1 plus 0.07. So let's figure out which one that is on the study guide. A cannot be it because it says 9.0.01, and that's not right. B, 9 and 17 hundredths. 9 and 17 hundredths. Is that what we just wrote? Yes, it is. So the answer to number two is B. Okay, again, I can't do all of the problems because the video would be way too long and it just doesn't let me, it's really, really hard to load videos that long, but I will skip around and see what we can do, okay? All right, the next one says, put these numbers in order from, you gotta be careful, from least to greatest, so the smallest one to the biggest one. So if I were you, I would just write out the numbers that we have here. We have 4.5, which stands for the same thing as 4 and 5/10. We have 4.14, which stands for the same thing as 4 and 14 hundredths. And then we have 4.26, which stands for the same thing as 4 and 26 out of 100. And then we have 4.06, which is the same thing as 4 and 6/10. So if we look at all the whole numbers, they all have 4. They're all the same. So that doesn't help us much, right? Then we look at the next number, the tenths place. They have, here's a 5, a 1, a 2, and a 0. Well, what is the smallest out of all those numbers? The 0. So this is the smallest number. Then the 1 is the next biggest. Then the 2. Then the 5. So now I have them in order from least to greatest. So we've got to figure out what answer that is. 4.06, 4.14, 4.26, and then 4.5. And if you guys see it, you're right. The answer was D. That is the answer to number 3D. Okay, number 4 is asking you to round decimals, and we practiced rounding decimals last week. We did it on a live. Everybody got to follow along and look to see how to round some decimals. Okay, so let's do another one. This one is 15.85, but be careful. They want you to round it to the nearest tenths place. So which number is in the tenths place? Is it the 1? No. The 5? No. The 8? Or the 5? It is the 8. So we're going to underline the tenths place and look beside it. And we say, are you bigger than 5 or are you smaller than 5? Well, it is 5. And if it is 5, that is the same thing as being bigger. So the 8 becomes a 9. So the 15 stays the same. The 8 becomes a 9 and the rest becomes zeros. So the answer should be 15 and 90 out of 100, which is 90 hundredths, okay? So let's find that. It is C on our paper, number 4. The answer is C. Now your math test is gonna be the exact same thing as the study guide, just the numbers are a little bit different. Okay, number 5 is asking us, there's Nala, she loves you guys. Okay, it's asking us to estimate. So we do 23.9 plus 33.57. And this is how you estimate decimals before you add them together. You look at the whole number and you look beside it, and that is smaller than 5. So the 23 stays the same. So here's what I think you guys should do on your test. I think you should cross this off and just put 23 over here. Then you look at the 33, look beside it, it has a 5, which is the same thing as making it bigger. So the 33 then becomes a 34. So I would get rid of all of this so you don't get confused. And now let's just add 23 plus 34. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. The answer is 57. So that is C on your paper. C. All right. Number 6 is a word problem, and it has the word have left. Do you guys remember what have left means to do? It's a key word. It means to subtract, everybody. So you've got to take 3.25, which is the bigger number, line up the decimals. Remember I told you, anytime you add or subtract, you have to line up the decimals, and you've got to do 1.5, and we're going to subtract these. Now you notice there's a missing space here. You can put a 0 there, okay? Now you're just going to do subtraction. 5 minus 0 is 5. You can't do this because when the smaller number's on the top, you can't do it. You've got to borrow from the 3, make it a 2. This becomes a 12. 12 minus 5 is 7, and 2 minus 1 is 1. Here's the important part, bring down the decimals. So your answer is 1 75 hundredths, 1.75. So your answer should be A, everyone, A. All right, the rest you should be okay on the front. Number 10 has 100 squares, and they're asking you how many is colored in out of 100. And so each rod represents 10. So you should be able to go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. This is number 10. It's the same thing as 70 out of 100. It's asking you to put it in word form. So you need to actually write out 70 hundredths on number 10. Okay, and number 9 is pretty easy. It's just money. It's saying how many dollars, if I had $3, this is number 9, 9 dimes and 3 pennies, how much money would that be? It's very simple, $3.93. Okay, we're gonna go to the back of the paper now. I'm sorry, sometimes dry erase markers make me cough. The dust or whatever, I don't even know if it's dust, just dry erase markers. I hope you guys are having fun doing the study guide. Again, your parents can just let you watch this video over and over and over, and you can actually do the entire study guide by yourself because you guys are independent learners. I'm so proud of you guys. On the back is probably the hardest part because you need to use scratch paper for it. So if you look here, there's all these problems right here, but they never ever give you enough room to work them out. So what I did for you guys to make it a little bit easier, on the next page, I went ahead and wrote all of the problems for you. So then you just write the answers because there's a space to work them out. So let's just do number 1 because we can't do all of them. But if you have 4.9 and then you have 1.5, and we're gonna add these together. It's just like regular adding. There's just a decimal place there that you have to bring down. 9 plus 5 is 14. The 1 goes up here, the 4 goes down here. Bring down your decimal. 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 1 is 6. Your answer to number 1 should be, you got it right, 6 4/10. And you just go back to the front of the paper and you write the answer in there, but you work them all out first on the scratch paper. Please do not try to do these problems in your head, okay? You guys got this. All right, let's go back to see what is left on our math test. It should take you about an hour to do the math test. Some of you, it'll take less. Some of you, it might take a little bit longer, but usually the kids get about an hour to do a math test, okay? All right, if you look at number 17, again, it is very simple because it's relating decimals and money. So it has this problem, $5.68. And all it's asking you is how many dollars are in this? Well, go to the dollar place, there's 5. How many dimes? There are 6 dimes. How many pennies? There are 8 pennies. That's all it's asking you to do. So numbers 17 and 18 are pretty easy. Those are simple problems. All right, then the very last one is worth 2 questions. It's asking you to explain something. It's asking you to explain how you would subtract. So you have to write it out in word form, and those are the hardest questions because they're really testing your writing skills. So if I was gonna write out how to subtract 1.48 minus 0.7, the first thing that I'm gonna say is you have to line up the decimal point. So I would write that out. First, line up decimals, okay? Then second, you're gonna do the ones column, or I mean actually the hundreds column because it's over here, it's in the decimals. So you're gonna put second, subtract hundreds. Then the next thing you're gonna do, third thing, subtract tenths place value. And lastly, subtract what's left, which is the whole number. Subtract whole numbers, which is in the ones. Then you're actually gonna solve it. So it's gonna be 8, cross off the 1, make it a 0. The answer is actually 0.78. I know you can't see that really good because I don't have enough room, 0.78. So then when you're all done, you're gonna write the answer, 0.78, okay? So you get 1 point if you get the question correct, and then you get another point for writing it all out and explaining the steps to that, okay? So this is your math study guide. If you do a really great job on the math study guide, the test is exactly the same thing but different numbers. So if you did awesome on the study guide, you're gonna do awesome on the test, and you're gonna get a 100, and that's 40% of your grade. Good job in learning decimals this week, you guys. You're amazing. You're doing fantastic. Give yourself a big pat on the back because you're amazing. Bye.